Hello everyone and welcome to Submarine House in Centerville for the latest edition of Dayton Sports Huddle, The Dish. And I'm here, my name is Jeff Lauterbach, the co-host with my fellow co-host Richie Moody. And Dayton, the cradle of inventors, and also known for its basketball. We were talking about, it was timely because right before the show, we were talking about the growth of basketball, and it's timely to have our guest on today, Mr. Eric Horstman from Flying to the Hoop, the tournament which has been ranked the second best tournament by Max Preps and ESPN. Welcome, Eric.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate being here.
And Richie, as I alluded to right up to the moment we hit go here, we were talking about how basketball in Dayton, we were talking about the first four, it's always sold out at UD Arena, and high school basketball dating way back, and UD basketball, obviously a big following. And here we're blessed. I don't know what the first tournament is ranked, but as far as your tournament, Eric.
Well, actually, the first tournament that is kind of like my arch nemesis is what I like to call it, but it's actually the NBA Hall of Fame. So the NBA Hall of Fame up in Springfield, Massachusetts has an event called Hoop Hall, and it's actually the exact same weekend as ours. So what a lot of people don't realize is all these national teams would like to come to both of our events. So case in point, we have IMG Academy out of Florida this year coming up, who's ranked number 3 in the nation right now. Well, they are playing at our event on Friday, and they will get on a plane Saturday, and they will go up to Springfield, Massachusetts and play at the Hoop Hall on Sunday and then go back. So this upcoming weekend is a big weekend around the country for a lot of the best teams around the nation in basketball.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, we were just talking and alluding to, and I was expressing my first time of going down to the UD Arena as a freshman, and my basketball coach. We've got such a rich history here in the Dayton and Miami Valley area that we promote basketball, we do different things along it. We love it. We're true fans. We're true sports fans, but more so basketball and the mystique of the UD Arena. What was your first, big memory as a kid that helped promote you to get to where you're at today?
Well, the story that I just was telling to a couple of fans the other day, they always ask, how did this even come to be as Flying to the Hoop and our sponsor, Premier Health? Basically 17 years ago, or really about 18 years ago, I always tell folks, you can blame Brooks Hall, the old UD Flyer. I don't want to call him old, I'm older than he is, but when he was in high school, he was ranked one of the top players in the nation, and he played at Troy High School, which is my alma mater. Well, my nephew played on the basketball team with him, and when he was a junior and senior, they were invited to a national event that was very prestigious at the time called Slam Dunk to the Beach, which was out in Lewis, Delaware. So we are talking Delaware in winter, which there wasn't anything going on. So Troy went out there, and myself and my brother-in-law decided to go out there to watch the team. So we go out there to watch the team, and the environment was unbelievable. They actually had St. Vincent St. Mary's and LeBron there that year as well. Yeah. So me being never to shut up, I started talking to a lot of the folks that were there, and I started and became friends with the guy that ran that event over there. And he goes, "You're from Dayton, Ohio, right?" And I go, "Yeah." So at the end of that conversation, he's like, "You ought to think about putting on an event in the Dayton area, because we hear it's crazy for its basketball." So one thing led to another, and now here we are with our 17th year of Premier Health Flying to the Hoop. And everybody in Dayton can blame Brooks Hall, because I tell them that all the time. If it wasn't for him and us going out there, I don't know if this would have ever happened.
It's pretty interesting. Now, Brooks and I have crossed paths with his daughters playing women's basketball now, and he's got a couple as being a coach now.
That's right.
So on the other side of
Yes.
playing and growing as an adult now. So that's kind of where I'm at. Having 4 young ladies myself that played basketball.
So that's at least where the roots of this started.
Awesome.
And many people know that for the first 4 to 5 years, we were at Vandalia Butler, and then made the switch to the Trent Arena, which is in Kettering now. So here in 10 days, and believe me, I know it's 10 days, I'm counting it down, but here in 10 days, we'll have our 17th year of this event, which is turned into a monster in a good way, but something bigger than I ever could have expected.
And you have 37 teams, 20 games, January 18th through January 21st. And I know you talked about Brooks Hall and obviously LeBron James when he was at St. Vincent St. Mary's. You have, I was looking at the website and we were talking before the game, there's about 24 really high-profile players coming in.
Yeah, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is trying to bring the best talent from around the nation here to play the best talent in Ohio at the time. So this year we have, at last count, 13 or 14 5-star athletes that'll be here, and another 16 to 18 4-star athletes that'll be here during that weekend, which that is kind of a big deal because they just don't throw out those stars all over the place, you know.
That's right.
And over the years, I mean, we are blessed with our list now is, I think we have 60 guys that are in the NBA or were in the NBA that played right here in Dayton, Ohio, you know, at Flying to the Hoop. And we're pretty proud of that. And every year in June, when they have the NBA draft, we have about another 6 to 8 go into the NBA, and we're expecting that again this year.
Sure, and I think you got just some information that maybe you might want to share right now with us.
Yeah.
Some exciting news on one of the teams on who they're bringing in as well.
It's funny that we're talking about high school basketball because at the end of the day, it almost is run like a college or a professional organization. Sure. So as I was telling you guys, literally as I'm pulling into the parking lot, Huntington Prep, which is out of West Virginia, always a top team in the nation. I got a text from one of their coaches that they just added a player to their roster. This player happens to be, his name is Zach Lovejoy, and he is a 7-foot, 4-star player with right now offers from Michigan, Indiana, Xavier, Ohio State. Those are the ones that I can remember. Oh, and Stanford. So where our Friday night big game was going to be a national powerhouse, IMG Academy out of Florida, which is ranked 3rd in the nation right now. Huntington Prep is ranked top 20 in the nation right now. Well, you have a top 20 team that just added a 7-foot 4-star to the event.
Fantastic. It's going to be awesome and exciting.
So you guys hear it here first. I just got the news.
Got the scoop. We love it.
I hope our programs aren't printed yet because we got to add another name on the roster.
You're going to be making another call and making some adjustments.
Exactly.
I think that's there are many things that are exciting about this event. Number one, obviously a lot of good local teams you get to see all in one spot, but basketball fans obviously follow. They know Huntington Prep, IMG, Spire, Prolific Prep.
Right.
They've heard of the names over the years because those are the type of players that go to Duke, North Carolina, Louisville, Kansas, schools like that, blue chip schools. And here you can come out and buy your ticket and see
them all in one spot.
All under one roof.
Right. Yeah, every year, some of the other questions that people always ask is, how do you get these teams every year? So early on, when nobody had heard of the Premier Health Flying to the Hoop, we were making calls and people were like, why should I go to your event versus the dozens and dozens of other events out there? Well, now, knock on wood, we're very blessed that we get a lot of calls now. So literally this year, we probably had over 150 teams from around the nation want to get in. So now our tough part is trying to whittle it down to the 37 to 40 teams that we have. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. Not only the jigsaw puzzle of trying to get them all to fit as far as schedule and matchups. Sure. Hey, who's going to have good players? Who's a perennial good team? And then we got to kind of wait, just like what happened today, we kind of wait towards the end of summer to put the final matchups together because in today's world of transfers, we never know who's going to end up where. So it's a little bit of a crapshoot. So this year, out of our 37 teams, we have, I think, 7 states that are represented, and we actually have a team coming down from Canada. This team from Canada is called Crestwood Prep, and they are playing Kettering Fairmont High School, or the host school, and it's the first game of the event. They have 2 studs on Crestwood Prep. One is going to Wake Forest. He's a senior. But another intriguing factor is they have an 8th grader playing varsity. The kid is 6'4" or 6'5", and he is ranked as the #1 8th grader in North America.
Wow.
So his name is Elijah Fisher, and
That's
he is
awesome.
on Crestwood Prep. So everybody
Now,
in
is he
this
from
area,
Canada as well, or is he from?
Yes, he is from Canada.
Okay.
And a lot of the schools like Huntington Prep, they have a lot of Canadian kids that transfer down, but Canada is really getting their own reputation. And this Crestwood Prep is a good basketball school, and it's a legit high school. But they've been wanting to come down for years. I know the coach, and finally, I mean, it kind of worked out. So on Friday night, our first 2 games, 3 of the 4 teams aren't even from Ohio.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that are worried about transfers and whatnot. From an OHSAA standpoint, might not find the joy in this. But you and I were talking, and I want you to elaborate on. You get a chance to see the best of the best.
Right.
These kids are going to be in college next year, most of them.
For at least 1 year.
For 1 year, at least for one, exactly.
Yeah.
And you got 60 that are in the NBA that we've seen here, and we've been fortunate enough to watch. Why not? Why not come and watch a game?
I mean, we hear about it from all of the fans. Some of them are the purists that like the high schools, and I see all sides of it. But at the end of the day, we're trying to put on some entertainment at a cost-affordable price for families. I live here, so I can say this. This is Dayton in mid-January. There's not much else to do in Dayton in mid-January, so it's kind of become a marquee thing for this event. And, you're going to get to see future stars. And not only that, you never know who's going to walk in the door. So we have colleges from all over the country, from USC, Washington. Tom Izzo comes down all the time. I mean, all of these head coaches. 2 years ago, Kenny the Jet Smith from NBA TNT walks in the door and was here for 2 days. So he was here watching games Saturday, Sunday, and had to fly out Monday only because he had to go do the NBA on TNT on that Monday night.
We might have some folks here from the Players Lounge, or the Players Only on.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you never know, and we started this event because we wanted to give local kids a chance to play on a national stage. There are kids, I think, the 2 things that I'm most proud of with the event over the years, from being here and living here, is one, the city of Dayton and the area has projected that this event will pump $1.9 million into the local economy. Again, mid-January in Dayton, so I'm very proud of that. And even more so, when we have coaches that get up and talk to the press, and at our press conference that we have every September say, hey, as a direct result of our team last year playing in this event, we had 2 kids get scholarship offers. So you get all of these college coaches and media from all over the country looking at these players. They may be coming for the 4 stars and the 5 stars, but they're like, man, that kid's not bad. And it's pretty cool to see them get scholarships.
That's how I got recruited in baseball. I went to a national event that was put on actually in Youngstown. And what you're doing here for local kids, I mean, you might ride the coattails, but that's how you get seen sometimes. And, whatever it takes to get seen and get an opportunity.
And to get your chance to get your college paid for, or to continue your dream of playing sports in college, that makes us feel good. So it's so cool. And one quick little story. So Isaiah Carson is the head basketball coach for Springfield. Springfield's been doing very well over the past several years. They're coming again. He's got a tall test this year because he's playing prolific prep out of California. But the interesting thing was, and I didn't even realize this, in our first or second year, Isaiah Carson played in the event. He was one of the studs on Springfield that played in the event, and now here he comes back full circle as the coach for Springfield to do that.
Oh, wow. What year was that?
Well, it had to have been within the past 17 years, so I'm not sure which one, but it's just kind of neat hearing these stories. And for a lot of these folks, it becomes like a family reunion. I mean, here in 10 days, we have the same sponsors, the same volunteers, the same fans that haven't missed a game in 17 years. It's kind of neat. It feels like a family reunion.
And I will say he's been doing a great job. I've had the opportunity actually to referee a couple of the 7th and 8th grade boys teams, and he's got a lot of talent coming up as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'm sure he'll let me know about that too,
he will.
when he lobbies for his inclusion in it for next year.
For sure.
So we'll get into some of the teams and players in a bit, but what are some of the highlights, some of the players? You said there's several players that have gone on the NBA. What are some of those players, and maybe you can tell us a few highlights over the years that really stand out to you?
Let's some of the interesting stories, and I'll have to think of some of them because I try to erase them from my brain, is that a lot of the folks see stuff at the 10,000 foot level that we want the fans to have a great time, and they don't know the chaos that's going on behind the scenes as we're trying to make things happen where, oh my gosh, we have a team playing tonight and their plane got stranded in Denver, and let's figure out, how we're going to get those guys here. But going back to the players, again, we've had about, I think it's 60 now, and we might be missing one or two, but 60 players that are in the NBA. But something else that's pretty phenomenal, at least in my mind, is we've had 4 number 1 draft picks. So we've had, in many of these names you'll know, we've had Anthony Davis, we've had Andrew Wiggins. He was here actually 2 years in a row. That year, Andrew Wiggins went number 1, and a kid by the name of Jabari Parker went number 2. We had both of them here. So Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Davis, Anthony Bennett, which kind of a bust in the NBA, but he was still a number 1 pick. And then just this past June, DeAndre Ayton, that went number 1 in the draft, he was here as a sophomore. So it's kind of neat to say, wow, these number 1 picks in the draft have been here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's obviously Anthony Davis. A lot of talk about how he could be traded before the trade deadline or in
Please
the
go to the
off-season.
Celtics. Please go to the Celtics. Please,
We're Celtics fans.
Please.
So
Don't believe the hype for LA.
And I always look at it. So on the Celtics, Jaylen Brown, he was here.
Really?
I was going to ask if Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown was here.
Cool.
Yep. So again, some people, and I'll tell you, we have the greatest fans and followers on earth, because I'll be sitting there watching a game, and all of a sudden a fan will tweet out, "Hey, there's Jaylen Brown. Saw him at Flying to the Hoop," and I'm like, "Hey, note to self: put Jaylen Brown on the NBA list on the website because you forgot about him." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So our fans are always looking out for us. But yeah, Jaylen Brown was here.
That's awesome.
You talk about the behind-the-scenes chaos sometimes. Do you have any stories where a team got here just in the nick of time, or where you had to iron out some travel difficulties or anything like that?
It is a lot of them, and like I said, sometimes I put them in those dark places in my mind because I like to forget about them. Last year, was a pain because Mother Nature and I are still not on speaking terms, and she is not invited to the event this year because it was nuts.
Yep.
So my hope is that the snow comes this weekend, and 10 days from now we get back to 60-degree weather. But we've had to deal in a nice way with school systems or what have you, because there's some archaic rules out there, such as in some school systems, if there is no school on Friday, then they are not allowed playing athletic contests all weekend. So one year we had a couple of Columbus public schools, Northland being one of them, when Jared Solinger was there. They didn't have school on Friday. So the superintendent sends out this big email to all the schools, hey, no athletic contest can take place this year or this weekend. And I'm like, I get a frantic call from the coach. And remember, all these guys want to be in the event.
Yeah.
He was our marquee game because he was playing a team out of San Diego who had Jeremy Tyler, who was an NBAer.
Yep.
They were the number 1 and number 2 centers in the nation at the time. So we had, it was a sellout for the day. Everybody was hyped. And because it snowed on Friday and Saturday, no health hazard to the kids. It was nice weather or what have you. Because it snowed on Friday, they weren't going to be able to play in the game on Saturday. So some last minute, I don't want to say lobbying, cooler heads prevailed, and the game went off without a hitch. But there was all of those types of things. The other thing that a lot of fans don't realize is during the event, that weekend is considered a non-contact weekend for college coaches. So I never even realized that until a couple of years ago. You have all of these college coaches flying from across the country. They're coming here, spending the money, spending the time to watch them. They're not even allowed talking to the players.
Yeah.
The only ones that are allowed talking to the players are if they already signed with the school. So I had just learned this rule, and then I'm walking behind to the locker room, and then there's Coach Calipari with UK talking to Anthony Davis, and I'm like, we're going to have an international incident here, NCAA violation. Somebody's going to see that.
Speaking of archaic rules, though, with the NCAA, they constantly are changing, and I understood they changed again this year for most of the stuff because of you're technically now not supposed to be talking to the kids until their junior year.
Right.
There's some like texting and stuff like that can go on. What's your feelings on all of that?
I'll tell you, it's getting harder to regulate all of that because of social media. It's so easy for these coaches to get a hold of these kids. You know what I mean? Summertime stuff from my perspective, doesn't get regulated maybe enough. There's a lot of crazy things that go on out there in club sports, as you well know, and AAU and all of that kind of stuff. So with all the chaos of the things that have been happening over the past couple of years with the Coach Pitino and all of that that's still coming to light, I can't help but think that it might put more importance back on the high school teams, which I would like, because if they shrink the times that they can see kids in the summer and contact them in the summer, then that makes the high school experience more important for those kids. And maybe it makes it a bigger deal for the college coaches to get out to see them during their high school. So in a selfish way, it hopefully could help us and the event even grow even bigger.
Yeah, absolutely, because during the season, and I think time will kind of tell and navigate, what's going to happen with that. But from our standpoint and the program like that my daughters play in, we've already tried to look at things a little different and try to shift, to help, obviously, help the girls get promoted, number one. That's the only reason we're trying to do these sorts of things, and I'm sure that's why most, coaches want to help the kids get where they want to go. But I think only time will tell, but I think you're absolutely in an ideal position, being a tournament during the season.
We get our event officially sanctioned by the OHSAA, and even more important than that, it's sanctioned by the NFHS, which is the National Federation of High Schools. So now, but to be perfectly honest, a lot of the schools, like some of these prep teams, aren't part of their associations. So the rules, and that's why, and I don't know if you remember or not, but early on in the tournament, it used to be a tournament. I used to have it as a tournament. The problem with that is the bracketing and trying to figure that out was worse than trying to figure out my taxes, because we might have two teams that can play each other, but if you look down the line, it would be like, wait a second, those teams aren't allowed playing each other because of their state rules. It got too crazy. Case in point, like Florida schools can't play on Sunday. Georgia schools can't play non-member schools. Michigan schools can't play any schools that are 300 miles outside their border. All these rules are legit, and it's a pain. So we went, after about 4 years, we went to the whole shootout mentality that we're going to put the matchups together. So everybody knows, and I think people like that better. I know the media and the college coaches, because they know exactly who's going to be playing when, and we can put the matchups together. These teams don't really care about winning a tournament here. They want the exposure.
Did the NFHS help you with that, or did they help you guide in that, or what was behind that decision? Just moving to that?
It was just us moving to it.
Gotcha.
Like, I just got an email from the state of Georgia yesterday, because we have a team called Pace Academy that's in Georgia. It's a member school. They're going to come to the event. Well, they need to hear from me, hey, officially Pace Academy is playing Thurgood Marshall, which is an Ohio school, which is a member school. Because if Pace Academy was going to play any of the prep schools, that wouldn't be allowed to be happen. And then Georgia wouldn't sanction the travel for Pace Academy to come up here. So we have to be very careful. That's why you get like a Huntington Prep versus Bella Vista out of Arizona. Those are two prep teams. They don't have to abide by any member rules, because they're kind of their own private school right now.
And you, when you make matchups, I guess you do a lot of research to make sure it's an evenly matched. So, I mean, obviously sometimes you can't help. Every now and then you're going to get one team blow out another if they're evenly matched. But
we have a lot of people on my team that are smarter than me with basketball. We have a lot of people that watch more basketball and know more about basketball than I know about my own kids. And they help me to say, hey, Eric, here are going to be the best national teams next year. Hey, Eric, here are going to be the best Ohio teams next year. We try to go get them under contract, and then, like I said, in late summer we start to put the schedule together based on transfers, based on where it's going to fall out. These are good matchups. So on paper, these are good matchups. Now, as you know, that's why they play the game. Sometimes we get a lot of buzzer beaters, and sometimes you have some blowouts just because things happen. Injuries have happened, you know what I mean, where star kids can't be in the event. That kind of dampens it. But all in all, I guess we're doing something right, because we get pretty good crowds there every year.
Sure, you mentioned your staff, so I'm gonna give a shout out to them. I mean, how how many people and staff and resources does it take to put something like this on?
You know, not enough credit goes out to, you know, our staff, volunteers, paid, our sponsors. What people don't realize is these are high school teams on high school budgets.
Yeah.
Okay. So we help offset those travel expenses. We help pay the airfare of the national teams that come in. We help pay the hotel rooms. We feed all of the teams, even the local teams here, to a nice sponsored meal. So from the Premier Healths of the world to the River Valley credit unions to the Frickers and to all of our staff. I mean, without them, you know, you always hear it, but literally without them, none of this is going to happen because it takes a village, and if you build it, they will come, and that's what we have done. And that's why that family reunion, you feel it every January because you see the same sponsors every year, the same people. You know, it's kind of neat.
Looking at the roster of games we were talking beforehand, obviously you have IMG Academy versus Huntington Prep on Friday, January 18th. That's going to feature, that'll probably feature a handful of people who will be in the NBA draft in a couple years. Then you have LaMelo Ball of the famous Ball family, Spire.
That's going to be on Monday. Yeah, Spire Academy right now is undefeated. And they've had some tests, but they're going to get a test on Monday at our event. They played Prolific Prep out of California. Prolific Prep is kind of new on the scenes the past 4 to 5 years, but Josh Jackson, who is now in the NBA, played on Prolific Prep. Gary Trent Jr., that is now in the NBA, that played 1 year at Duke. He is was at Prolific Prep. So what we try to do is we try to do a mix of the national versus national teams as well as the Ohio versus national, but we also wanted to show some love to some of the smaller schools out there. So we have some good small school matchups like Convoy Crestview that is #1 in the state D4 right now against Minster. So, you know, obviously we can't put a small school against a Prolific Prep, but we wanted to give those kids a chance to have and shine on a national stage.
And I want to give you a chance to mention you still have a couple girls teams coming in this year as well?
This will be our third year of the girls game. This year we've got another great one. It looks like we're,
fortune tellers.
Fortune tellers.
You are.
Thank you.
You're a fortune
because
teller.
This year we have the Minster girls versus the Carroll girls, and I just saw a state poll yesterday that the Minster girls are ranked #1 in D4, and the Carroll girls are ranked #1 in D2. So, hey, when we did this in October, I'll tell you that we thought we knew what we were doing, but it's going to turn out well.
I'll give you a little feedback after tonight when they play Alter. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, we're coming down to the final minute of the program, and Eric, where can people find more information about Flying in the Hoop?
The easiest thing to do, and a lot of people are asking us about tickets and if we're going to have more tickets available once the schools give us their tickets back, follow us on our social media. We're pretty active on Twitter at Flying to the Hoop. We're pretty active on Facebook at Flying to the Hoop. Or you can go to flyingtothehoop.com as a website, and you'll be able to see the entire schedule of games, the history that we've been talking about with the NBA, and you can order tickets up until early next week.
And for being on the program, Eric, I will be giving you a gift certificate to Submarine House where you could come in here and get whatever you want, the subs, the sandwiches, the beer.
That's not after 2 weeks from now, I'll need a beer, so that'll be perfect for me. So
and you said they were one of your sponsors as well.
And Submarine House helps feed some of our teams, so we appreciate their support as
well.
Yes, we do.
So we appreciate you for being on, Eric Horstman of Flying to the Hoop. And for Richie Mooney, I'm Jeff Lauterbach, and thanks for joining us. And feel free to look at Dayton Sports Huddle The Dish on Facebook as well. Have a great afternoon.